I've clearly already been introduced as Louisa Miranda. I am on DevCruise. I'm also in PJ's team along with Mai. And I'm here to tell you about a project that I've been working on. It was brought in by Andy Beach as a Hack for Good project and was part of this past company-wide 1 week. It is for a museum, a virtual reality experience of the Colored Girls Museum in Philadelphia. The Colored Girls Museum is described by its founder as a memoir museum. It focuses on common everyday experiences of ordinary women of color, and it collects objects with that kind of narrative focus, in addition to displaying works of art. So my initial interest in the project was as an art historian. As some of you may know, before joining Microsoft, I spent far too long working in the art world in New York, and I thought that that expertise would actually be helpful to the museum, and it really wasn't. It turned out that what was useful to them was my knowledge of open source technologies like React and WebVR. I think that the project, because we used React 360, it's written in JavaScript. It's actually not on GitHub yet. Since we did it during 1 week, the repo is in Azure DevOps, but eventually, once it's a little bit more stable, we intend to move it to GitHub so people in the public can contribute. And I think that the project is a great example of the potential for all these different kinds of accessibility, because that VR generally and free and open source WebVR in particular provides these different kinds of accessibility, including location. Naturally, that's all VR gives physical accessibility. The museum is brought to its target audience regardless of where they are and their economic or physical ability to travel to it. And being a museum dedicated to the cause of uplifting women and women of color, this kind of accessibility is really important to executing its vision. It makes sure that it gets to the people that it wants to. And the museum's actually intimate and narrative focus, I think, particularly works for VR and the natural empathy building that medium has. The second thing that is exciting is actually I'm doing it out of order with this, but the people's different abilities are something that VR can always accommodate to a certain extent. It's naturally multimedia, so it can be designed from the beginning for the hearing or the vision impaired, and of course, people unable to travel due to any kind of physical disability. Perhaps more exciting from our point of view is WebVR doesn't require any fancy hardware. Although you can view it on a VR headset of your preferred fanciness, you can also view it in a browser on any computer, any desktop or laptop that has a browser, which is all of them. Or for someone whose phone is their only computer, they can view it there as well. And then the other thing that is, to me, the most exciting is that the software is open source, and it's really, it's available. You don't need to buy anything special to learn how to use it, and you, once we put it out there onto GitHub, anyone can contribute to it. So, you know, my experience is I have this knowledge because I went to a JavaScript coding boot camp, and anyone who is self-taught or goes to a boot camp can learn these relatively simple softwares and be in demand, basically. They can learn a skill that is exciting and fun, and also may just get them a job at Microsoft. That's all. While we Q&A, I can, is that a touch screen? No. Nope, just kidding.
Maybe move the mouse over into that screen.
Okay. I hear you. There we go. In theory, while you ask me questions, this demo will play. No? All right, you can just see this still image of it. Very compelling VR experience. Wait a minute. There's a, oh, no, that's not it either. All right, any questions? Hi, Sharon.
Where is the actual museum?
The actual museum is in Philadelphia. And yeah, it's actually a home that has been turned into a museum. So you can see its side porch here. And when people go there, they actually get a tour from the curator/founder. And that's one of the things that the app doesn't currently, but will incorporate. Once we have some recordings of her, we can have her speaking to the objects and the idea. Yes?
I mean, is it constantly updated and kept current, or is it one-off, or how is this?
The plan is to add additional content as they have additional changing exhibitions and pieces, so that as you go into a room, it can kind of create a timeline. You can choose which exhibition you're looking at, and in that way, it'll also build an archive for the museum of what they've done.
Have you recruited, you talked about the help develop the skills, have you recruited anybody to Microsoft from the community?
Not just yet.
But you're working on it?
Yeah, I'm actually going to apply to present this at Grace Hopper, when hopefully we'll have a little bit more done, and maybe recruit some people there. We'll see. I don't know your name, but you had your hand up.
Oh, I was just curious if you've had a chance to visit the museum.
I have not. I have not been to Philadelphia in the last number of years. But yeah, I hope to before presenting it, but no, I haven't.
I was in LA in June for an open hack and at the Auto Museum, the Peterson Auto Museum, and they're trying the exact same thing. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to maybe more broadly socialize, because most of them are trying to get that experience out of just coming and visiting there physically too. And so it seems like a much broader opportunity.
It definitely is. A lot of museums are trying to do some kind of walkthrough ability for that, and it's one of the reasons that I also jumped onto this project at the beginning, was to kind of upskill on that and be ready for what seems like a likely thing to be repeated many
But
times.
right now, is that open source repo used by anybody else? Do you know? Or?
Right now, this isn't open source,
Oh,
but it's going to be. So the code React 360 is open source, and it's sort of in flux at the moment. So I think there's kind of we're switching over from React VR to React 360. So I think people are kind of on the cusp and not really using React 360 that much. So we're trying to experiment and see how far we can push it. Yes.
Did you need a 360-degree camera to capture the footage, or can that be done with like regular?
No, it was a 360-degree camera that went in and photographed each room. Thank you.